If you work in retail or e-commerce, you are going to love this episode because I just recorded a live event podcast at the Four Seasons at Shop Talk with 4 of the people leading the way at the biggest tech companies in the world when it comes to agentic commerce. Now, I am a self-confessed shopaholic. I am totally obsessed with how we're all finding products and buying products online. Of course, we all know that AI and agentic is happening already when it comes to finding the right products. However, the people that I sat down with, which were PayPal, EPAM, Google and Commerce, who are leading the way when it comes to actually building the data and infrastructure in platform for the future of agentic. They have created, alongside some of the biggest brands in the world when it comes to retail, the UPC. So if you want to find out and you don't know what UPC is, it's coming. Well, it's not coming. It's here. You need to find out. If you're interested in agentic and getting ahead when it comes to AI within the world of retail, this episode has everything, and believe me, everything you need to know to get prepared.
First of all, good morning, and thank you for the invitation. My name is Kapil Dabi. I'm the America's market lead for retail and consumer at Google Cloud.
My name is Sharon Gee. I'm the Senior Vice President of Product for AI and Feedonomics at Commerce, which owns BigCommerce, Feedonomics, and MakeSwift.
Hi, I'm Brian Gilmore, and I run Commerce Go-to-Market for EPAM. We're a global digital engineering and consulting firm known for solving complex problems and creating compelling customer journeys.
Hi everyone, I'm Nixon D and I, the head of product for Agentic Commerce here at PayPal.
Amazing. So these are the guys who are actually making it happen. We are going to get all the knowledge. I mean, this is better than all the stage talks, guys. You made the right decision this morning. Agentic Commerce and UCP. There's already lots of acronyms out there. Many people are still trying to understand those acronyms. I know I am. I'm going to come to you first, Kapil.
Yes.
What is UCP?
How many people in the room has heard of UCP? Okay, still half of it. So we should definitely know what UCP is. So UCP is an agentic commerce protocol which Google Cloud launched at NRF in January. But in simplistic, let me thumb it down a little bit so that people are not, focused on just the acronyms here. But it's called a universal commerce protocol. It's an open protocol which lets any agent connect to any agent which supports that protocol, which means a retailer, it could be a payment provider, it could be a supplier. But the goal is it's a handshake which can control the entire customer journey from product discovery to any decisions, to recommendations, to checkout, all the way to. So the whole idea is very simple, that we're giving the power back to the brand. I think there was a lot of, before we launched UCP, there was a lot of noise, and people were thinking, a lot of retailers were thinking that we might actually disintermediate the shopping journey. Agent will shop, nobody will go to the customer website. So the whole idea of UCP is basically giving the power back to the brand, okay? With UCP, you can control the agentic experience on any Google surface, which is Google AI Mode or Gemini app. Okay, and it is end-to-end. So that's one of the fundamental differentiation, that it is end-to-end customer journey. The second thing is we chose to design this thing with 5 foundation partners: Walmart, Target, Shopify, Etsy, and Wayfair. And the reason why we did this is very simple, that we don't want to launch a protocol and then people, can you please adopt it? The idea was that, hey, we are going to launch with you guys so that the adoption is already there. And then, of course, we have partners like Commerce. We even reviewed some of the specifications with our partners too, as they launch and build their own products on this thing. So those are the fundamental thing, that UCP, in essence, is giving back the power to the brand to control the agentic experiences on the Gemini app or on Google AI Mode. We are showing live demos of UCP in our booths for Target, which was launched actually today. So you can go see. Wayfair is live, Etsy is live. We're working on Walmart and Shopify, which will be live in the next few months. So that's UCP in essence for you guys.
Exciting times by the sounds of things. And yeah, what good timing. Target live today. Love that. How does UCP, Sharon, compare to other protocols that are out there? Because it's not the only one, is it?
Yeah, it's been a really interesting 6 months, I would say, in the space, because it's the same problem, which is that merchants have catalog and they need to get it onto the new channels. But that's an old problem. The new challenge is that it's new channels, right? So new surfaces like Gemini or ChatGPT or Perplexity, and there are new data requirements to be able to support that, and there's new protocols, right? So the data handshake by which merchants can get their data to these channels in a way that is trusted when agents are the ones who are doing the checkout, that's the reason the protocols have been released, is because the old way the internet worked didn't allow there to be trust in how the data needed to go back and forth. So we got new protocols. We had OpenAI and Stripe announced ACP very early. It didn't contemplate a lot of the use cases that enterprise merchants need, like loyalty, like multi-item cart, like a lot of these things that we know are required for merchants to actually have profitable businesses on a channel. And so depending on which channel is, and the protocol they're using, the solution is actually the merchants are going to have to adopt multiple. And so that's really where we come in. Our job is we've always sat between a merchant systems of record and the channels they want to sell on. Feedonomics is a market leader in that space and has been for a long time. So our job is to abstract that complexity, right? You shouldn't have to worry about whether a new protocol has been released. And so we were one of the launch partners in January at NRF with Universal Commerce Protocol. And we've already committed. You've seen announcements with us and with PayPal and Nixon. I'm sure will talk about their protocol as well. The data has to go back and forth, and our job is to build to that. And so when we think about how Universal Commerce Protocol compares to like ACP and others, it's much more comprehensive because Google understands retail. It's been powering shopping for a decade from an advertising perspective. It's been the leader. So you need catalog, you need checkout that is trusted, that knows both the consumer and the merchant, and you need order fulfillment because it's not ads and it's not marketplace. It's a third thing, which is the merchant remains merchant of record in this checkout. And that's why it's new. It's not like, oh, this is just another marketplace like TikTok Shop. No, it's not. It's that your systems receive the orders and you own that. You acquire the customer and fulfill the orders and send them the emails after the order comes in. But the initial order is captured on the agentic surface. And that's a really different concept. And if you don't have catalog and checkout and orders, like an order integration to the merchant systems of record flowing cleanly, it's not going to work, which is why there's been all of these press releases around announcements of partnerships, because you have to be able to check each one. So if you think about Google, they already have catalog and long-standing relationships with people like Feedonomics and others for many years. They already have Wallet, right, with Google Pay and all of their payment partnerships extensively for many years. And with their integrations now with Universal Commerce Protocol, anybody who builds into that can support the order fulfillment. And so these are the check marks that any agentic channel is going to need. And Universal Commerce Protocol has done a very, very good job of making sure they address the use cases that enterprise merchants need to actually be able to succeed on these channels.
And I didn't pay Sharon.
I know. Sharon, I adore your energy, by the way. You are amazing.
Well, it's
what a woman.
Talk about the people who get it right.
Yeah.
Because there's been a lot of frustration. I don't know if I'm the only one who's been frustrated. There's been a lot of frustration with some of the new entrants who do not understand commerce. They're getting way better. But they don't even have a concept of catalog. They don't even have a merchant center. So how can you support a shopping experience answering user queries about products when you don't even have product data that wasn't scraped from 3 weeks ago? You have to have quality, inventory availability, like all the things that are in a normal Google feed. You have to have that, and now additional conversational attributes to really get the outcomes that you're looking for. And I think Google's been an amazing leader in that. So we're so excited to support them as well as the other partners, Perplexity, Microsoft, OpenAI, all of them have lots of opportunity. But I think the approach that you guys have taken towards the infrastructure and the protocol, you've been a leader in schema.org back in the day. So I think Google does what it does best, which is establish a standard that says, here's how the open internet needs to continue to work in a safe way. And we're seeing them, continue that leadership, I think, in the agentic era.
Love that. Now, on that, GEC, another acronym. And how is Google, explain GEC. Does anyone know GEC?
GCX, yeah.
Tell us what that is, because I don't know what it is.
So, when we think about agentic commerce, and I think Sharon beautifully talked about the merchant side, right? So it's very critical in merchant or retail side. When we think about agentic commerce, you have to think about two different aspects. Mm-hmm. One is basically you can have an agentic experiences on your own surface. When I say retailer's website, okay, Macy's.com is like an example. The second thing is the Google surface, whether it's Google AI Mode or Gemini app. They're two distinct elements which leads to the same agentic experiences. So if the customer can come to Google AI mode and can search black jacket going to a gala party in Vegas, at ShopTalk, I can do the same thing, same experience, same query directly on the retailer surface as well. So those are the two elements. So GECX, which is basically another acronym, Gemini Enterprise for Customer Experience, is a platform which focuses completely enabling the agentic experiences on a retailer's surface. So Macy's.com, it's already live, right? So you can go to Home Depot. There's something called Magic Apron AI Assistant. So think of that, or Sparky of Walmart, which is also powered by Gemini. So the whole idea here is these are the experiences which you have end-to-end control on the agentic experiences on your surface, including loyalty is very, very critical, because everybody wants to know what was the past purchase. Can I get a promotion? Do they know what I bought in the past, and so on and so forth. So that's the GECX. The beauty of GECX is that it supports UCP too. So the whole idea is that you invest in building your own agentic experience, and you have that foundation and that foundation can be carried back to enable agentic experiences on Google AI Mode or Gemini Ad. And that is where the UCP sort of comes into picture, that handshake. So that's the power, where it's very, very critical for people to understand that consumers, you have to actually eventually meet where the consumers are shopping. It could be on your website, it could be on Google. So basically it's enabling the agentic experiences across both the channels. Now, important thing is UCP, 2 weeks ago, we also launched identity linking, multi-carts, real-time product feeds, which means that when I look for this jacket in Vegas, that means I know that the price is like less than $500. It is available 2 blocks down the line. The inventory is there. I can do buy online, pick up in store. And then guess what? I'm also a loyal member, so I should get 10% discount. So all these things can be enabled in Gemini app. So that's the fundamental difference, that we are enabling both the surfaces, retailers as well as Google surface.
Making it even easier for me to spend money, basically.
Yes.
And find the right things, which I don't actually need that much help with.
Yeah. So I want to add a quick point to Kapil's comment there. When clients come to EPAM, there's always this confusion about where do we start. So their natural inclination is, okay, I've built this infrastructure, I've built this website, I want to build it with the agent and host it and run it myself. So of course GCX is great for that. But then they're faced with this confusion about, okay, where do I need to meet my customer? What channel, what agent do I need to go meet them in? And so it's important to know that it's not an either or conversation, right? You have to go and meet your customer in all of those places, or you face losing your brand or losing out to some competitor. And I think the beauty of what Kapil is describing here with GCX is that you have the ability now to address all of those different channels and to do it in a consistent way.
Well, and I'm actually very interested in AI-driven discovery. We're all using it. I actually remember sitting in a talk probably about a year ago, might have even been here, and I think it was actually OpenAI saying, you're going to be using LLMs to help you find the products and the things that you want to wear to conferences, events. I was thinking, no, I'm not. I love scrolling Instagram. That ain't happening for me. But it has happened, and it is happening, and we're all doing it already. So I want to know, what are you guys seeing? I guess this could be for all of you, but maybe, I don't know. There's going to be, when it comes to actual that kind of AI-driven discovery, what are you guys seeing that is really helping or hurting retailers right now?
So from what we've seen so far, there is a lot of discovery happening on the AI-driven surfaces. Mostly what I've seen is typically in the more considered purchases or things that require a bit more, there's a little more comparison on that. So furniture's done really, really well. Electronics has done really well. We've seen fashion retail do well, but in specific use cases, image search has done really well for that as well. Like you can take a screenshot of social media to find me this look. That's done pretty well. But in cases where it's spec-based driven, the data exists, that comes clean in the catalog feed. That search and discovery has done really, really well so far.
I've actually done that myself. I saw a jacket on a movie, ski jacket. Hard to find good ski jackets, guys, I can tell you from experience. Took a photo of it
on the movie on my TV, put it into chat. It did actually get it wrong because it was a massage jacket and it told me that it was Moose Knuckles. But anyway, I knew the logo, so I figured it out myself. But that's going to happen more and more. So it's really important.
That was a data problem, by the way.
Exactly. Yes. Why did it happen? Yeah. Come on, unpack it for me.
So I think it's important that you did such a beautiful job of articulating. In AI, we have agentic experiences you own on your .com, and we've got agentic experiences that they own, right? Gemini, OpenAI, Perplexity, Copilot. In order to get your data into the systems that they own, you have to get it there with speed and like real-time inventory and pricing, et cetera. And there is infrastructure for this already for some of the channels, like Google Merchant Center, like Microsoft Merchant Center. Some of these, like Amazon Seller Central, they have comprehensive understanding of data because they have feeds that have been feeding their ads for a very long time, including things like Google local inventory ads. That data becomes the foundation that can ground the brain of Gemini, right? Because it already knows about your products. It already knows about the inventory availability. The challenge with channels that don't have a merchant center yet or haven't or are relying on scraped data, and they're improving this very quickly because they understand that how important that is. But new entrants who got 100 million users faster than any other consumer technology, they're AI led, but they weren't retail led. And so they have to very quickly consume structured product data in order to be able to offer answers to the queries. So in discovery, if you are relying on scraped data to answer questions about pricing, inventory availability, structured product specifications that are, like structured data, title, description, image, color, weight, material, consumer electronic specifications. If you do not have that data in a consolidated way for the AI to remember in the first place, you're never going to be able to answer the question, is this Dell laptop good for this one or that one? So like we're supporting Dell, feeding their data to OpenAI as an example, but that's like a really recent thing because they haven't onboarded enterprise merchants at scale. So when we think about how do you answer the question, is that like, analyze this image, is this the right jacket? Well, they have to have all of that data to be able to compare it against. And so I think that's why I'm so excited about, we're in the early innings because of the new release of the protocol. Everyone's building, the ecosystem is in the like lay the train tracks, and now let's send the data, which is in the train cars, across the rails to be able to get it to the destination to unlock the discovery. And I love what you said, which is the experience of, I want to be able to do research and compare because AI is really good at synthesizing complex data like that. That's a very opposite use case of what checkout is going to be able to support. Because I'm never going to check out with my thumbprint for my custom couch that has to have white glove delivery. So when we think about like, what kind of experiences in an agentic world does a brand need to think about? It's be discoverable on the channels where your shoppers are, right? Discovery. But it's also when they get to your website, if you're a furniture brand, you need to make sure it's just as easy for them to interact with your owned agent that knows all about them and knows all about your capabilities around your white glove delivery and all of the things that you do that are not going to be extensible to the channel. And so like when we talk about consumer experiences in agentic, it's like there's first party and third party, and the data is the foundation that you need to be able to power both. You have to be able to externalize that data to your own agent, right? And there's more data that you'll externalize because it's in your internal systems. And that's why the approach that they've taken with UCB and DCX is so interesting.
Can I add something?
Yeah, go.
Because I love what both of you said. One of the fundamental things is that agents do not browse like humans.
Yeah.
Okay. Agents match. So this is the fundamental philosophical difference between the shopping which will happen by the humans versus agents. And they're also compressing the gap between the product discovery all the way to checkout. Okay. So typically a consumer, when they go through non-agentic experience, like close to about 10 different touch points. You will start from Google search, but you might go to the website, you might go to the mobile. It's usually around 10 different touch points. Agentic commerce is basically squeezing that gap to only 3 touch points. But what's powering is basically what you just mentioned, is the first party data and third party data. Any human cannot, in their sane mind, can go beyond 5 to 6 or 7 websites they will traverse. But when you put a query like black jacket, Vegas, gala party, all this stuff, the agents actually spawns multiple queries which goes across the internet and will go and touch pretty much every retailer, which is famous, non-famous, could be right here, which could be a bespoke. But you need to have the right data set. Like my wife, I'll give you a personal example. She always uses the images for search. My son uses voice. He never actually texts. So just imagine if my wife is looking for a Louis Vuitton mug and she clicks a picture, and if a retailer does not have a visual in their product catalog, they're not going to pop up. It's as simple as that. And so it's very, very critical that we focus on the first-party data, third-party data. The third-party, you would be amazed that one of the feed which comes is Reddit. It consumer forums, and the agents will pick up. You probably go humanly and then you go through some and browse some of those Reddit feeds, but agents will just cut across all of them. So the third party is also very, very critical in the agentic commerce. Yeah. So just wanted to add that.
And I think when you talk about the data as well, it's not just about having the pipe, being able to feed it and having it structured. You have to think beyond the traditional description of the product, right? That agent, the reason it's going and grabbing that third-party data a lot of times is because you didn't provide enough description or details in your feed. So enriching it, even pulling in like Q&A or things that might go through your customer service to create that a richer body of descriptions to feed that AI is super critical to getting your brand voice and to help that agent make those comparisons.
It's about context, right? We've all heard about how do we optimize for AEO, GEO on our product detail pages. That data foundation can, for like, is this jacket good for lightweight? Is it made of linen? Is it good for hot weather, right? We can auto-generate that kind of data now to be able to optimize either your product detail pages or include it in the feed in order to be able to improve the conversational attributes.
I'll probably just add, it's even more data than just product data now, because you have to have like your return policies, your fulfillment data. We're talking about fulfillment as a touch point. Having your shipping options available, the weight of the item, how it's packaged up, all of that factors into how an agent makes a decision. How quickly does it get to my door? I think Amazon's proved that people will just pay for convenience, right? So like that factors into your decision to purchase, your ability to return it. Where can I return it? So that data is often at times is not always publicly available, and maybe retailers and merchants don't have that yet or listed somewhere. So it's important to get that ready as well.
Information, basically, isn't it? You need to inform on so many levels and think about how people are now searching, because we're searching in a much more conversational, detailed way.
And it's not people who are searching. Yeah. That to me is the more important thing.
Well, yeah.
It's that agents are customers too now.
Yes,
and so we have to think about how to give data to the robots.
And that's actually going to be a big change, because although at the moment we're instructing our agents a lot more, so it kind of is still person first at the moment, because we're uploading an image, we're chatting. I do both, by the way. I'm a mixture of your daughter and your son, your wife and your son. But in a few years' time, the agents are going to know enough about us to go and do the searching for us. So it's going to change again. So it's worth us really kind of dialing in and thinking about that. Right. So lots of people in the room have probably already invested a lot in their infrastructure, in their platforms. If they want to leverage, some of the great stuff that you guys are doing, how can they do that if they're, they've already heavily invested in the platforms that they've got?
The last several years, we've all been investing in building that technology infrastructure, and we've probably replatformed one or more of our components that make up our stores. And so you might come to this and think, oh, I have to replatform something again. And I think that's a bit of a myth. It's not necessary. If you've built a proper composable architecture that already has your data and all of your principal parts of your experience that are split up and making up that customer journey, you probably don't need to do a replatform. What you really should be looking at is talking to your partners and saying, do you support UCP? Or am I able to connect with my existing infrastructure that I've built and to tie it into these new agentic ways of selling? That is what we talk about with customers as a way to get started. And if you can do that, then I think your path to an agentic journey is much faster.
Yeah, I would add to that. It's about speed. Working with partners who are doing the work, it's existential for us if we don't support what you have, right? Our business is based on getting rid of the complexity for merchants. So this is the best time to reach out to your software partners and say, hey, I want to be able to take advantage of this. What are you doing to be able to support it? And the people who are investing in it, for us, it's our job. So Shirley Gao, Chief Digital Officer from PacSun, came to us 5 months ago and said, hey, you are my data partner. You already send my ad data to Google, Meta, TikTok, Amazon, all of the channels. I want you to be my partner who sends it to the Agentic channels. What are you going to do about that? And I said, I want to be able to say yes to you. Let's go do the work to be able to make that happen. And so we already had an amazing relationship with PayPal. So we were able to build that infrastructure like in months. We're already built on GCP. So getting in with Google and saying, hey, what additional attributes do you need? Or how can we support Universal Commerce Protocol to be able to help Shirley and PacSun launch on Google? And so we are in a position because it's part of our job to make sure that we do not have an offering unless we're supporting that. So don't think that you have to run out and build to UCP yourself, because you have partners who are very, very motivated to make sure that that's the case and incorporate it into our existing offerings. So that's the number one, what do you do as you leave this? I would say, I'd understand from the partners you already have, what are they doing about taking advantage of these and integrating into these new protocols? And have you seen the press releases between those two companies that you expect to see in order to be able to address the needs that you have? Because our job is we know that everybody's trying to do more with less. Nobody should have to spin up a new engineering team to be able to go manage Perplexity and Copilot and OpenAI and Google, right? Use the partners you already have, and then evaluate if you have the right ones based on whether they have the integrations you need or not.
From a Google perspective, I think our recommendation is, you'll always have a maturity of retailers who are built versus buy, right? Mm-hmm. So that's why we are building some of these things with Target, Wayfair's, Walmarts of the world, because they were a build shop. They have the investments as well as the manpower to basically work on these things. But the other spectrum is there are a lot of retailers who actually do not. They want to buy shop. And this is where I think fundamentally, partners like Commerce and then partners like EPAM and others are going to basically, that speed which we talked about at the end of the day, they've already pre-built and already has solutions to support UCP. So why basically churn and go through the whole solution? If you're already using one of these platforms, they're already supporting it. That's the fastest and the easiest way to basically support UCP and agentic commerce. So, the buy versus build will always be there. But I would say that partners has a very, very big role to play. Your current existing infrastructure has a big role to play. We're already working with all those partners. Obviously, ask them that, can they support it? Yeah.
Nixon, I want to come to you next. Payments in an agentic world. Let's just deep dive. What is it? We all are so used to frictionless payments now, but what does it mean in agentic, and why is it a little bit more complex than we might think?
Yeah. So I think fundamentally, it's just that the whole interaction changes. When you think about how payments is today, it's very human-centered, very human-driven. We go through pretty typical steps of identity. We need to know who you are. We need to have an authorization, so we need to know that you've requested to make this payment. And then on the other side of that, when you actually complete the payment, there's also the fraud piece. Does the seller fulfill it? So at the core of us is we connect sellers and buyers. But there's a fraud element to it as well, both on the merchant side and the consumer side. And we need to make sure that both sides of the network is whole. When an agent comes into play, even from a merchant side or the consumer side, that changes. Now, how do you know who the agent represents, right? How do you know what they were asked to do? How do you verify that when something goes wrong? Who holds the liability? And that becomes really, really complex as you kind of figure that out. And I think the networks and everyone in the industry is starting to establish this piece now, but the liability piece is really fundamental to that. And then the first step of that is just the identity piece, understanding who the agent represents. And that's kind of the biggest first step right now.
Is there going to be some kind of, I'm guessing so, some kind of an identity between the agent has done all those checks for you before it goes to buy the things? So
when you think about how we've run both sides of the network, when we onboard both consumers and sellers, we have what we call KYB, KYC. And we naturally see this as an extension of that. We already do these verifications today on you as a business. Do you fulfill your orders? You have high fraud rates. Even on the consumer side, we'll do ID checks and verification checks on the consumer. And we generally see that everyone will probably have an agent, both sellers and buyers. And the extension of these checks will just go beyond to to the agent, and every agent should represent an entity, whether that's a human or a business.
I'm excited to meet my agent that does all my shopping for me. From an actual, in real life, like a perspective of the customers, there are some people that are doing this. Can you bring to life, you've referenced PacSun, we've also talked a little bit about Target. Who's getting ahead in this space? Because I think we actually had a question about this from someone as well. Like, there's a lot of talk about AI, but the realities and actually big brands that are doing this, there's not that many. So it'd be great if there's any cool stuff that you can tell us about from some of the recent launches. That would be really interesting.
Yeah, I can start from my side. Sharon, please do that. Of course, UCP was launched in January, right? And we are working with the what we calling 5 foundation partners, and the only 3 which has been live yet. Okay, so it's Target, Wayfair, and Etsy. You can I'll actually encourage all of you guys to go to Gemini app, look for lamps from Wayfair, and see there are 3 steps, and you can buy it right from the Agentic experience. Okay, you don't even have to go out to Wayfair website. So, but why we are working for only like a lot of build partners? Because we are actually building the protocol with them. So you have to understand that element that both our 5 foundation partners also have some unique nuances. Somebody wants a embedded integration, somebody wants a native integration, and so on and so forth. So the fundamental thing here is that people are experimenting, people are actually learning from some of the things, and we are executing. So I would still encourage all of you guys to go to the booth, see the Target demo. Very soon you will see Walmart live, you will see Shopify, and we also have almost 20 other advisory partners which are actually helping, which are actually in the pipeline, so my prediction is that in the next 3 to 4 months, you're going to see a lot of retailers, or 3 to 6 months, a lot of retailers will be active on UCP and will support UCP, and then you can go and check the Agentic commerce experiences. The reason is that we are actually working mainly with the build partners, but we'll have our partners like Commerce who are actually going to just you can buy off the shelf, right? Mm-hmm. And then that is actually going to increase the adoption in essence.
Yeah, so like we have a weekly with the product team at Google where our job is we've built to Universal Commerce Protocol, right, for the commerce platform. And so we have something called Agentic Checkout Kit that we've built in partnership with PayPal and others, where merchants like PacSun can, because they already have a PayPal account, because they already have a Google Pay account, because they have a commerce account and a Feedonomics account, they're able to offload those things together, and they're now able to sell on Perplexity, on Copilot, and very soon on Google. And so when we think about how do we make this really easy, which is how do you take an approach where you become discoverable and shoppable everywhere your customers are, that's the approach we're taking. And so folks like PacSun, and big commerce customers like Champlain Chocolates, like Franklin Planner, these are not necessarily big companies. Because we've done the integration, if you're on our platform, you can take advantage of it. But if you're not on our platform, you can too. That's the most interesting thing. PacSun doesn't use BigCommerce as their e-commerce platform. They use Salesforce Commerce Cloud. But they're able to use our infrastructure with the Commerce Headless Checkout Kit. With us, plus PayPal, plus partners like Google, we've done the work in the back end to make that discovery on those channels possible. And the orders route right to their OMS. So if you're an enterprise merchant, you've either built your own stack or you're on a different platform, it doesn't matter. The agentic solutions now are able to be platform agnostic.
Love that. Properly composable, headless.
Exactly.
It works. There you go. You can all use this, guys. Right. I am going to send us to a close, but with a big question, because there's lots of brands, retailers in the room that are probably thinking, right, what do I do next? In fact, that's some of the questions that we've had in. So I want to take from each of you, for our lovely listeners to the podcast, and for the, I think, around 20 brands and retailers in the room, over the next 3 to 6 months, what are the best next steps for them to take to get ready for an agentic-driven world?
I mean, we're probably going to echo the same thing, but the theme here today was just be data ready in all parts of the funnel. But that's kind of the biggest piece, and just making sure your infrastructure can support the data requirements of the future. And just be ready to test and learn. Like things have moved so quick, right? And so be ready to adapt as well.
I think we're in violent agreement about data. I don't think anybody's going to say don't pay attention to that, but it certainly starts with the data. But I think that if you're thinking about how do I find a way forward, you have to look at how are you going to create value in that transaction. You don't want to just shift traffic from one channel to another, right? You want to create some value in that agentic channel so that you can actually increase your conversions, increase your average order value. So it's important. I want to go back to Sharon's last point. That people think I have to do these huge projects and change things on my existing infrastructure. That's not necessarily true. You do have to do it in an enterprise manner, in a very in a way that maintains your brand. But there is a lot of flexibility in how to get to market quickly, and then to create the feedback loop. Now, you might invest in something and say this didn't work, and that's okay. You just don't want to take 12 months to get there and spend millions of dollars to figure that out. You want to work with your partners and course correct very quickly if that doesn't pay off for you. So that's what we talk to clients about for how to get started.
I mean, as the data vendor, I would say I love the source of the story is get your data together. And maybe an offer is sometimes people don't know what that means. And so we're happy to do an audit for you that says, where do you want to sell? Where does your data come from? And how can we help you get it there quickly? So if you would like a free audit, we have people in this room who can help you with it.
Love that.
It's data, right? Data is the new oil. So I'm not going to talk about data. But another suggestion, which I would actually give all of you guys is, it is very critical that you need to start. Let's start small. That's okay. But you need to start. Agentic commerce is here and it's going to stay. We have to just see how big it's going to become. Okay. The numbers are given on this. It's $3 trillion opportunity across the globe. $1 trillion of that is in North America alone. The fundamental thing is you have to play. So start small, but think big because it's going to become bigger and scale fast, whether it's partners or whether you want to build it on your own. And if you want to start somewhere, start building agentic experiences on your own website first. Even though UCP is too far, which is fine, but at least you have more control. You can control the end-to-end experience. You have all the necessary infrastructure to support it. You can build those things out. Most of the retailers, by the way, already had built it before they've even gone onto UCP. So it's like, Sparky is an example. Magic Apron for Home Depot is an example. Ask Victoria is an example for Victoria's Secret. They are all agentic experiences built on their own surface. So you can start there because you have a lot more control there. So start somewhere, start small, that's okay, but you have to start.
Go guys. That's it. A big thank you to my fantastic guests. I'm going to ask you all to give them a lovely round of applause.
Guys, I hope you loved and learned as much from that episode as I did. Honestly, I am very excited. I can't wait for an agent to go and do all my shopping for me. I mean, I do enough shopping as it is. I don't actually probably need anyone to make it any easier for me. If you have been inspired and you are interested in getting yourself on the agentic AI pathway, then as you will have heard, Sharon has said that Commerce will give you a free data audit to make sure that all of your data is AI and agentic ready. So go check it out by clicking the links that I've put in all the show notes, and go and get your robots ready to go and do our shopping for us.